Steph Castle. What are the pros? What's the glass half full? I think the first big selling point with Stephon Castle is he only got to show part of his game this year, right? He ended up playing on that UConn team, which had so many well-established veteran college players. He came in and played a role. And I think there is offensive upside as a ball handler, as a scorer that we didn't get to see this year. So by now, a lot of people probably watch the tape. They know the highlights. They know the numbers. But what we haven't seen is something that we won't probably get to see until the next level, until years down the line when he earns that role. The fact that he was wanting to go to UConn and sacrifice and basically went there to win, I think shows me he has a mature approach. There are really rave reviews on his character, irrelevant of any of these claims about him wanting to handle the ball, etc. And he sacrificed to win. We know that's in his DNA. We don't know that is in every player's in this draft class DNA. He has great size and length, like 6'6", to guard ones and twos, maybe some threes as well. He can be your primary perimeter defender, and he does it without fouling. He might not have huge steal and blocks numbers like maybe other guys, Reed Shepard, Ron Holland, but you just have to watch the tape. He defends with his chest. Like, he is super strong. And for me, that is a superpower. He has super strength. He uses it on both ends, like attacking the rim, switching on to guys, using his strength. For a freshman, it is completely elite, in my opinion, that strength. And he is only going to get stronger as things go in the NBA, right? You look at Drew Holiday, the type of strength that he plays with, Jimmy Butler the same, like that core power strength, which is just so useful in the modern today NBA. Here's a list of guys that Stephon Castle shut down this year. Bayless Shyman, first-round pick. Terrence Shannon Jr., first-round pick. Mark Sears, one of the national players of the year, went back to school, but one of the best players in college basketball. Cam Jones, another guy, went back, but would have been probably a first-round pick this year. Brandon Smith in the title game for Purdue, the point guard. He held opponents to under 20% from the field when guarding them. He just already got proven ability to shut down NBA scorers and to make their life an absolute nightmare. And that is something that this Hornet team desperately needs. It's clear he's got a good basketball IQ. He uses that on both ends. And the shooting, I know you're going to mention, and it is a concern. What I will say is, like, he was not profiled or billed as a non-shooter coming out of high school. He wasn't a great shooter, but he wasn't viewed as like this bad. And if you speak to some of the high school analysts that I've listened to on podcasts and interviews, like, they think he's a better shooter than he showed this year. And that he was dealing with an injury. He had some like opponent mind games, and like him taking threes for UConn, just their offense was so good elsewhere. It just wasn't really an efficient thing. So I think there's some tapped in upside there. In terms of fit for the Hornets, I mean, it's just like a chef's kiss. The perfect position, archetype of player you want next to Ball and Miller. That on-ball defender. I really like his off-ball scoring as well. He showed that UConn, his cutting, his ability to sneak along the baseline. And if the playmaking doesn't come around that I talked about earlier, that's okay. He's still good enough in his role at his strengths that I think he can be a really good role player for this team. And with a little bit of upside because of that offensive skill that he's not been able to show. So I think he's the perfect intersection of fit, upside, with a solid floor that fits this team philosophy.
James, you made a very compelling case. I can't lie, I agree with the high majority of it. I have Stephon Castle ranked very highly on my board, but that is not what this segment is for. So I got to bring a couple of counter arguments here. My only thing is that, like, and it's not necessarily really about his like overall effectiveness as a player, because I agree that his defense is probably just good enough and versatile enough. He's going to be able to switch across 1 through 3 pretty easily. And maybe if he gets like a little bit stronger and just more experience in the NBA, is going to be a 1 through 4 defender, which just a very, very valuable thing for a player in his frame and with his athletic ability. But offensively, if the playmaking doesn't come around to somewhat of a degree, he doesn't have to be like a point guard like he's being billed, I guess, in some of the pre-draft process right now. But if he can't be like a secondary ball handler, like we saw a lot more flashes of that in high school, I think, than we did at UConn, mostly because he played alongside Tristan Newton and Cam Spencer. But I feel like it's just harder to tap into those things in the NBA when you've taken time off of it, and when he's already not like a good shooter, so he's not going to be able to like maximize that ball handling right away, presumably, unless he takes like a huge leap as a shooter over the summer, and that's banking on a lot to be able to just be effective offensively in your first year, to make that kind of a jump from the end of your college season to the start of your rookie season. So he might just be somebody that maybe has like a really slow start offensively, and I do wonder how that affects his ability to like stay on the floor in like any given situation. Certainly for a team like the Hornets or like San Antonio, or a team that just has a lot of young players that can afford to play them. Sure, like he'll probably be out there, but say like he gets drafted by Houston or something like that. Like I don't know, and any team that really picks him is going to have to like have some sort of a leash with that offensive development, and you just don't get as much time in the NBA right now. So if he doesn't develop as a playmaker, the shooting stays where it is, which right now is like below 30%, pretty much across the board. Like overall 3-point volume was 26% on like 2 attempts per game, which is really low volume as well. Off the dribble shooting was like below 30%, both from 2-point and 3-point range individually. So going to have to make some pretty big efficiency improvements there to have gravity that's going to allow him to maximize his slashing and playmaking to like the fullest extent. But like I said, I do agree with you that his defense is probably just going to be good enough to get him on the floor right away. And once you're on the floor, that's really all that matters. You just got to be able to get yourself out there and make an impact.
Like you said, because like you said, once you're on the floor, right, you start to gain confidence. You learn other things when you get opportunities. Like you have to be on the floor to develop. And that's why, like, if you have that signature skill that can get you on early, that is so important. So, Stephon Castle, we are just over 10 nights. Fingers crossed you are a Charlotte Hornet.